My name is Steph Miller. Thank you for being here. You could have been anywhere, and we're just grateful that you're here with us, recognizing mental health, justice, and awareness. This is going to be an uplifting event to help provide support and information in a time of peril for mental health advocates and survivors. At this time, I'm actually going to call Pastor Susan Phillips up for land acknowledgement.
My name is Susan Phillips, and it is my honor to gather with Black Lives Matter Springfield and all of you this afternoon. I pastor First Presbyterian Church down this street. And as we begin our time together, I invite you to share with me in a land acknowledgement. Some of you have that experience, some of you don't. It is an acknowledgement that the land on which we stand, live, work, is the ancestral lands of the Kickapoo, the Peoria, the Kaskaskia, the Miami, and the Oceti Sakowin Sioux. This is land on which it is hard to find indigenous people these days because colonialism was so effective. The intersection of settlers and government with native populations moved people out. I have learned from my native neighbors about generational trauma and the harm done to souls and psyches and relationships over generations. I have also learned from them about generational healing and what is possible when communities work together. I have learned from traditional indigenous knowledge that we are all relatives with all of creation. We are interrelated, interdependent, and by offering this land acknowledgement, we remember that we heal together.
Yes, thank you, Susan. I'm actually going to call up Reverend Sonia Key for a prayer.
My congregation, there are 3 things that you need that will ensure that you will be on a good path. The first thing is you need a good hairdresser. Amen.
Amen.
The second thing is you need a good spiritual advisor. Amen. And the third thing you need is a good therapist. Amen. I want to stand and testify that I've been in therapy my whole life. I love my therapist. When I moved here, I was still seeing my therapist in Arkansas, and finally he was like, "You're going to have to get you a therapist in the state you live in." So our faith is built on us taking care of the spirit, the soul, and the mind, right? The mind is a part of how we understand and live out our faith. I'm from the South, and the old folks in the South used to say, "Let me go rest my mind." Our ancestors used to go to the hush harbors so that they could rest their mind. Jesus would steal away from the crowd and get to a quiet place so that he could rest his mind. Resting your mind is a part of your faith. Resting your mind is a part of living out your faith. Let's rest our minds together. I'm going to lead you into something called a centering prayer. So if you can bring your feet close to you and repeat after me. Be still and know that God is. Be still and know that God is. Be still and know that God. Be still and know that God. Be still and know. Be still. Be still. Be. Amen.
Right, I'm actually going to bring up a very special guest. Sunshine Clemens would like to share some words with you, co-founder of BLM, and really the reason we're all here this afternoon.
All right. As Stephanie said, my name is Sunshine Clemens. I just want to
start by saying thank you to all of you that are here. It is beautiful to see so many of you out here in support of speaking out for. Can you hear me better now?
Yeah.
There we go. As Stephanie said, my name is Sunshine Clemens, and I just want to say thank you to everybody that is here. I really appreciate seeing all these faces, all the signs for my brother Gregory, all the signs for everyone that we want to speak out in support of. I know that my brother is not the only one that is facing a situation like this. He's not the only one that has had struggles and had negative interactions with those who are called to help. So I just appreciate all of you being here. On behalf of the Small family, thank you. For those of you who do not know, my little brother is Gregory Small Jr., who was shot on March 5th. My mother called the police because he was suicidal and trying to harm himself. When the police arrived, they shot him 4 times. He had to have several surgeries, was in ICU. He is now able to recover at home under the care of in-home nurses. This is still a battle that he is, continuing to walk every day. He is now also being charged with aggravated assault. My brother never touched anyone. He never touched the officer that shot him. So we are asking that the charges be dropped against my brother.
Yes.
Thank you. We are seeing so many messages and stories online of others in these same situations that have had to plead guilty, even though they never laid a hand on anyone. And they now have a criminal record because of that. That is not the path that we want for Gregory Small. My brother is an Eagle Scout. He's been active in his community. We were raised in church. Not that any of that should matter in this case, because it really doesn't. Even if you've had a checkered past, it doesn't really matter. As long as the facts of the situation are, my brother never assaulted anyone. He should not have to perjure himself in court by saying that he's guilty of something that he did not do. The charges need to be dropped.
Yes.
This is not how we should treat those who are struggling for mental wellness. So I just want to thank all of you and ask that you continue to email the Chief of Police in Chatham, email the State's Attorney's Office, Dan Wright, share using the hashtag Speak Out for Gregory, share your own stories if you're comfortable, share your loved one's story if they are comfortable. Like I said, we know that this is not only about Gregory, this is about everyone who is fighting the same fight. So I just want to say on behalf of Black Lives Matter Springfield, on behalf of the Small family, we really appreciate the support that we have received from everyone, and thank you all for being here and for all of the efforts that you have made thus far, and I genuinely believe that you all will continue those efforts, and we just want to say thank you, and we appreciate your support.
All right.
Thank you, Sunshine. I truly believe that vulnerability is one of the strongest things. It's the bravest thing that anybody can do. So we just want to give you one more round of applause for your bravery to come and share your story with us today and your beautiful family that's here with you. The hashtag is Speak Out for Gregory, but I'm going to call Janetta Chandler up to sing Stand Up.
I've been walking with my face in the sun. Weight on my shoulder, a bullet in my gun. Oh, I got eyes in the back of my head, just in case you have to run. I can do what I can while I can for my people. While the clouds roll back and the stars fills the night, that's when I'm gonna stand up, take my people with me. Together we are going to a brand new home, far across the river. Can you hear freedom calling, calling me to answer? Gonna keep on keeping on. I can feel it in my mind. to shine. We're gonna start moving toward that separating line. I'm wading through muddy waters. You know I got my mind made up. That's when I'm gonna stand up, take care of my people. Together we are going to a brand new home, far across the river. Can you hear freedom calling, calling me to answer? Gonna keep on keeping on. That's when I'm gonna stand up, take care of my people. Together we are going to a brand new home, far across the river. Can you hear freedom calling, calling me to answer? Gonna keep on keeping on. I can feel it in my bones.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that, Janetta. We really appreciate you. Can you hear me? Can you hear me now? Okay. Well, thank you so much, Janetta, for that fantastic rendition of Stand Up. We're actually going to call our very own Alderman Sean Gregory up to the mic to give us a few words.
Today I come to speak out for Gregory. So when I heard this, I was sitting on my couch, and I asked myself, who's Gregory? I come across so many people. So I go through my pictures, and I was just with this young man, rolling around in the grass, putting up a tent, doing the various things that we all like to do with our family. So it took me back. I said, here's another young man that I know being shot by police for whatever reason. There has to be better ways to handle people. There is better ways to handle people. It's proven every day in various situations. We've seen it here in Springfield in various situations with our officers. One of the things that my dear sister Corinne stays on us about, other than these masks, is that just because something is the way it is now does not mean it has to always be. So I'm gonna be honest with you straight out. When I heard the situation, I got my butt straight on the phone with Mr. Wright, and I said, Dan, what are we doing? Why do we have to charge this young man with anything? You shot him 4 times. We shot him 4 times. So of course he has his views on it and his ways. And then it played out through my head again with our dear sister Corinne. She says, just because it's the way it is now doesn't mean it has to be that way again. And that just keeps playing out through my head. And I want that to keep playing out through everyone's head. I had whole notes rolled, but now something's taking over me. So we are here not only to speak out for Gregory, but we're going to keep speaking out for Gregory, my Auntie Reese, and the millions of people across this country who deserve respect and dignity, no matter what. We have to take it to this building right behind us and get these laws changed in various areas. Every nook and cranny of social injustice must be addressed. I get tired of coming down here to speak out. It's time for us in offices and in legislature to get busy and address the real issues, not put up bills that make us feel good. At one point in time, I hollered about moving the King statue, but I don't really care about that. I want our kids to live to know Dr. King. So I'm so thankful for you all having me here. I'm so thankful to see all of you out here speaking out for Gregory. I'm going to continue to speak out for Gregory. And there's nothing wrong with having tough conversations with people who you respect. There's nothing wrong with telling them, I disagree with how the current law is, that it must be changed. There's nothing wrong with that. And we're going to keep fighting with that. We're going to keep having these tough conversations with even people who we respect or we voted for. Hold them accountable. Thank you. Have a good day.
That was amazing. We're actually going to call up Dr. Diana Kanabi, the president of Memorial Behavioral Health, to give us some better understanding about the defining understanding of mental health and what that really means.
For the record, I'm not a doctor. I'm a social worker. Good afternoon. It is such an honor to be here with you today. It is Mental Health Awareness Month, and the theme for this year is You Are Not Alone. It is important that we focus on healing and connecting in safe ways and find safe avenues for individuals to be able to be vulnerable. That's especially difficult for persons of color and marginalized individuals. It's important that we prioritize mental health and acknowledge that it is okay to not be okay. The National Association of Mental Well-Being, which is a national trade association that we belong to, and they just put out the following statements in relation to Mental Health Month. Even before COVID-19, lack of access to timely, high-quality mental health treatment was the greatest barrier to a healthier America. Furthermore, the impact of institutionalized racism and social determinants of health undermine the mental health and well-being of people, all people, especially vulnerable populations. Together, we are fighting to change to build a nation that recognizes the essential truth. Our challenge is to ensure that everyone has access to comprehensive, high-quality, affordable treatment when they need it. By providing comprehensive approaches to prevention, treatment, and recovery supports, we will ensure well-being is a reality for everyone. Research shows that African Americans are less likely to access treatment for mental illness. Mental Health America has collected research that shows some of the following. Mental and behavioral health conditions are common among people in the criminal justice system. It's way too much the way people of color access mental health services is through law enforcement and the criminal justice system. More than 50% of youth in the juvenile justice system meet criteria for a mental illness. It's atrocious that they don't get any help, maybe even when they get to the juvenile justice system. There's a lack of Black and minority therapists in mental health services. Research shows that if one's life experience does not resonate with their therapist, it can often lead to misdiagnosis and mistreatment. There can also be many language and cultural differences between patients and providers. Research shows us that Black adults are 20% more likely to report serious psychological distress when compared to white adults. People who identify as biracial are most likely to report mental illness than any other racial or ethnic group. We can do this together. There are a number of things that are slowly starting to change, like culturally competent care systems and workforce development, so that we have more care providers that are representative of all persons from our community. By improving the mental health of individuals, we improve the health and well-being of our entire communities. We have a patchwork of responses in mental health crises. It's far from a coordinated system of care, delivering minimal care for some people, while others often are not engaged in care at all, and they fall through the cracks, resulting in multiple readmissions to emergency rooms, life in the criminal justice system, and unfortunately, many die by suicide or by cops. Law enforcement have long been relegated into the role of the default mental health provider world, but an emergency response primarily focused on safety, not on how a person in psychiatric distress needs to be handled, isn't really the best response. While we have success here locally with the co-responder model with the Springfield Police Department, there really isn't, it's limited in its scope. Far too often, law enforcement detains and transports someone, often to the only places we have in our communities, and that's the EDs and sometimes jail. It's certainly not the best clinical fit for people in crisis. We've recently opened up our living room on 8th Street at Memorial Behavioral Health as an option, but we have limited hours at this point in time. We have too many people that often are taken to the emergency room or go to the emergency room where they're not really equipped to handle mental health crises. Even with our psychiatric response teams that we have in all of our emergency departments. Hello, Kay. Our staff there in the emergency rooms assist, along with Dr. Corey Wolf and her team on the psychiatric side of things. But people can spend hours and even days in the emergency department, which obviously is not the best environment for someone in a mental health crisis. Or other people in the emergency department are there for life-threatening situations. MBH has just applied for a grant from the Illinois Department of Human Services Division of Mental Health that will allow us to expand the crisis services to establish a continuum of care available for anyone, anywhere, at any time. The state wants and views this as an opportunity to address service gaps due to racial and geographic inequities. This includes addressing the needs of both justice-involved individuals. This will involve an expansion of crisis services and mobile crisis response by mental health professionals and persons with lived experience, ultimately for anybody in our area. This will take coordination, collaboration, and community and stakeholder input in designing the mental health crisis system. And that's my ask for you. If you want to get involved in helping to create this mental health crisis system, let me know. I need you at the table. There is a national change going on right now. There is statewide and national work to transform the National Suicide Prevention Line to a national 3-digit number, 988. That will be implemented in July of 2022. So part of this planning is also how is that going to work for us here in our region. The 988 number, when it's operational, will act much like the 911 number, only it will also be able to respond to people who need mental health crisis, and a phone conversation can help with that piece. It'll be trained mental health call takers available to anyone experiencing mental health crisis or suicidal thoughts anywhere in the United States at any time to help find the support and help that they need. It will serve as a core component of crisis care in this country. The ideal system provides a person in crisis someone to talk to, someone to respond, and a safe place to go. The intersection between race, criminal justice, health inequalities, and America's increasing awareness of the pandemic's associated challenges on a day-to-day life situation, it has created, I think, a turning point and an opportunity for us. Mental health issues are now in the forefront of people's awareness, unlike anything I've ever seen in my 30-plus years in the field. I think we need to seize on this opportunity to create social justice reform, just as Alderman Gregory pleaded for us. We are better together. We need to do this together. Thank you so much.
I don't know about you, but 2022 can't come fast enough. We blew that number yesterday. If for no other reason, we know we're gathered here today because of the disparities, the outcomes that happen when people are asking for help. We're here to destigmatize mental health and asking for help, but to make it safe for people to ask for it. But all too often, when those calls go out for help, the outcome, especially for our black and brown people, they're not helped. And if you're listening and holding the story of Gregory Small, you know that outcome isn't right. The next person that's going to come up to the mic is aspiring poet laureate, Shatria Smith.
Y'all know I don't play. Hello, Springfield and surrounding communities. My name is Shatria Smith, aspiring poet laureate, executive director for the Garvey Tubman Cultural Arts and Research Center here in Springfield, Illinois. I want to thank you for being a part of this movement, and I want to share a juxtaposed mental health care poem that will provide a vision of what is not and what is. But before I start, I would like to share that this poem was a compilation of shared thoughts and words, collaboratively worked together on this poem to support the need for mental health care actions. I personally love to say it takes a tribe. Mental health care and this poem is consistent with that in mind. That no one should have to deal with this issue alone, and it takes more than one person to learn to overcome. It truly takes a tribe. And when we are smarter, we do better together. The poem is named, It Ain't What It Ain't, but It Is What It Is. Mental health care is not buck up, buddy, or lying dead or bloody, or only for those who have money. It is not smile and you will feel better, or the sun is shining, that's a starter, or you should try just a little harder. Mental health care is not a one-size-fits-all petite or a name on an intake sheet or just a one-way long street. It is not silent curiosity or hostile apathy or a stigma of perpetual animosity. Mental health care is not selfishness or contentiousness or recklessness or attention-seeking defectiveness. It is not give it to Jesus and let it go. It is not quit crying and don't let it grow. And it is not wellness checks with bullets in tow. Mental health care is not attitudes that are caustic. It is not keep it in the closet. It is not only you can stop it. It is not negativity with a verbal harm. It is not adding weight during a storm. It is not pretending there is no need for alarm. It is not what it is. Because mental health care is essential human infrastructure and faith of the seed that mustards and supportive solutions to de-escalation and someone who is ready and able to check in. It is access to collective empathy and the realness of complete honesty and the compassion of understanding bravery. Mental health care is a time to teach strength and a time to learn patience and a mother's child to reach and a tone and cadence to speak. It is conscious restraint and generously kind and specifically clear and holistic approach with much needed self-care. Mental health care is child care for emotional outbursts, teen care for low self-esteem and worth, crisis care for anyone who needs, family care for implementing a healing seed. It is church care for support and faith, friend care for the time that it takes, human care with warmth and compassion, and long life care for positive redirection. Mental health care is helpful and therapeutic and sympathetic, a health-driven collective. Now there are more words that I need to add to this poem, and since I did not write this poem alone, what other words can I use? Mental health care is love. Love. Mental health care is community. Community. Compassion. Mental health care is support. Thank you. Please reach out to your friends and family that might be going through this post-pandemic with massive anxiety. Check on your neighbors and a few strangers. We will never know who is ultimately in danger. Reach out, speak out, do what's right. You never know, because one day you or you or you or you just might save my life. Thank you.
So she had the wipes, but I'm gonna just go ahead and say she pretty much sanitized and refined the mic by fire. That was amazing. Go ahead and give her one more hand. Shatria, you did that. We're gonna ask Mr. Dion McNeil to come up for a personal testimony.
My goodness. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm sorry, I sound very optimistic, but that's just my voice, so get used to it. I really don't have anything really prepared, but my truth might be a little bit easier to speak like this, and that's what I'm gonna do for y'all today. Step into my truth and share a quote that a friend shared with me today. So, again, my name is Dion McNeil, and if you don't know, I'm HIV positive. I've been HIV positive since 2014, and maybe even before that, who knows. But when I discovered when I was HIV positive, there was a swarm of feelings, emotions. I didn't think that I could be here right now speaking in front of all of you, you know, because of the stigma, the shame, the embarrassment. I'm black, I'm queer, you know, who knows what type of trajectory that could lead you to. But apparently it can lead you right here, and that's good. The most unique thing about being HIV positive that has taught me is, again, stepping into my truth, but also realizing that my voice is my superpower. There's nothing like speaking to people. I mean, just think about it. You have a conversation with a friend. You let yourself be vulnerable. You be transparent. And there's so much that can come out of that conversation if you allow it to be ugly, beautiful, sad, because that's what life is. It intersects with so many emotions, and those are the emotions that we have to share with each other. And that's what I'm trying to do here with you guys today. HIV stigma is a thing that keeps us in the closet, but most importantly, stigma is the thing that kills us. But what's so beautiful about stigma is that it tells us that we're in a place of ignorance, which means that we can learn. And that's what I use my voice, to welcome people, to talk about anything, not just HIV, but to talk about things that matter to them. Because if I'm able to connect with you on a level in which stigma exists in your world, then I'm able to heal. We're able to heal. We're able to grow. When I saw Gregory's photo and I saw the information about Gregory, you know, I thought to myself, that could be me. What would I do? My family is all in Chicago and I'm from Bloomington. What would happen? Luckily, I have a great support system. But I think what's so powerful about showing up, thanking you guys to show up today and speak out for Gregory, because this has to stop and we have to talk about it. For myself, I think depression is the thing that I fight most with, and I carry that scar with me literally, like literally. But that's a piece that I value about myself, because when someone sees it, they either don't know what to say, or they say, I've been there. And yeah, it may feel triggering, but really, it's a spark to a beautiful conversation. Just like this conversation we're having today with our community, as we come together and recognize that our intersections is our superpower, that mental health is our superpower, that we deserve that. Gregory deserved that. He did not deserve what happened to him. I want to leave you guys with a quote that I that a friend actually shared with me today as I had my mental health breakdown just the night before. I'm gonna take a deep breath here. It's a beautiful quote, and it's actually in correlation to Ruth Ginsburg. This quote is by Maggie Kahn, who is the founder of the Grey Panthers. If you're not aware of who the Grey Panthers are, I learned who they are today. It's an organization that was developed by Maggie. It's an organization, at the time she was 65, and it was for seniors, elders, to take control of their lives and to step into their power and recognize that they too exist and they too deserve equality, the resources that you and I get every day, no matter what age. Maggie says, leave safety behind. Put your body on the line. Stand before the people you fear and speak your mind. Even if your voice shakes, when you least suspect it, someone actually may be listening to what you have to say. Well-aimed slingshots can topple giants. And do your homework. As I look into all of the eyes of everyone in this crowd, I stare into your souls, and I see the voice that shakes, and I hope you see mine. But that voice is not alone. We're together, and we are going to make a change today. So thank you all. Thank you for having me.
Okay, y'all, so I wasn't ready. As you can see, I've got my good eyebrows on, and they gonna run off by the end of this. Y'all raised some amazing words: love, support, community, compassion. I want to raise solidarity. When I look out at us all standing here together, holding these stories, sounds, words have power. And I just thank y'all for being willing to share so bravely, honestly with us. I'm going to call up Rihanna for a song.
Hello, everybody. I just want to say thank you to Shatria and Sunshine, and just for having me to speak out for Gregory, because this does have to stop. It is unfortunate that we have to keep coming to this same spot and keep going through the same things. But the more we do it, the more our voices will be heard, and I do think that is truly important, so thank you. I'm going to be singing His Eyes on the Sparrow, just to uplift our spirits a little bit. Why should I feel discouraged? Why should the shadows come? Why should my heart feel lonely and long for heaven and home, when Jesus is my portion, a constant friend is He. His eye is on the sparrow, and I know He watches me. His eye is on the sparrow, and I know He watches me. I sing because I'm happy. I sing because I'm free. His I know he watches me. Can I say that again? I sing because I'm happy. I sing because I breathe. His eye is on the sparrow, and I know he watches me.
Listen now, I told y'all I can't do this. I'm an empath and I'm feeling all the feels and they come in, my eyes are leaking. Brianna, that was amazing. That's not just singing, that's that good singing. And we appreciate it. My soul needed that this morning. We're gonna call up Miss Catherine Harris for a reading.
My name is Catherine Harris, and I thank all of y'all for being here today to speak out for Gregory. And indeed, everything that has been said is true, so I'm just going to double down on it and say it again. We need to speak out. Things need to change. We can't go on like this. So, where's Shannon? Shannon gets me involved in stuff, and I just say yes, and I don't even know what she asked me to do, but I said, sure, Shannon, whatever. Shannon, as you know, is somebody it's difficult to say no to. So for the occasion, you know, at church we say, we have somebody speak to the occasion. Well, I'm not sure if what I have is going to speak to the occasion, but I hope it speaks to you. And it's called Resilience. It's by a poet named Alex L. Look at you, still standing after being knocked down and thrown out. Look at you, still growing after being picked and plucked and prodded out of your home. Look at you, still dancing and singing and being after being defeated and disassembled. Look at you, love, still here and hopeful after it all. This poem says that we're more powerful than what we know. Resilience is part and parcel of being human, no matter how tough things might get. We can always find the power we need to come back. And we are, and we need to be resilient. Thank you.
I don't know about y'all, but I believe Miss Catherine spoke to the occasion with that. Yes, thank you so much. Right now I'm going to call up Mr. Dominic Watson of the Black Chamber of Commerce for some words on destigmatizing mental health.
Together we can. Together we can. Together we can. I'm here on behalf of the Springfield Black Chamber of Commerce as a community leader, as the head of the chamber, but most importantly, I'm standing here as a black male. As a black male. As a black male. Just saying that makes me emotional in today's time. I'm also standing here as an individual, a family member of individuals impacted by mental health in a time where the stigma was even worse than it is today. So I'm dedicating my voice, I'm dedicating the resources of the Springfield Black Chamber of Commerce, to tackling this issue. I plan to speak out for Gregory. I plan to speak out for my uncle Howard Turner, who passed away in 2009. But most importantly, I plan to speak out for our youth and our future. Thank you.
Thank you, Dominic. I'm going to call Dr. Carrie Wolf and a student, Beret Madden, to come and speak to us about trauma and mental health. They're joining us from the psychiatry department of SIU School of Medicine.
Hello, everyone. I am student Dr. Bray Madden. Extremely honored to be given this opportunity to stand before you today, but I'm more eager and passionate about the change that will come in the future regarding mental health. I was born and raised in an urban, lower socioeconomic status in Rochester, New York. In my minority community, which is most likely similar to your upbringing, mental health was a silent condition. I have to witness that even uttering the words, I am depressed, I am anxious, I am suicidal, was responded with a spiritual or biblical verse, or even worse, no, you're not, you'll get over it, it will pass. Being part of and experiencing the community and culture of my Black and brown community, and now a medical student, and my future as a psychiatrist, I exist in this parallel where I can understand the needs of both sides of the community. There is a need to increase the awareness, advocacy, and policy change surrounding mental health services and treatment. We owe it to our community to start the movement for destigmatizing mental health. This includes having these conversations early with family, believing and recognizing the symptoms of mental health, and seeking treatment when needed. There aren't many psychiatrists of color. My goal in becoming a female Black psychiatrist is to dismantle barriers and improve inequities in health. There must be trust in medicine, and we must be able to build relationship with someone who looks like us, who understands and recognizes the trauma that prevents us from seeking mental health treatment, and willing to partner with us to change the narrative. This starts with changing the face of medicine and implementing healthcare reform.
Isn't she amazing? Future of psychiatry looks bright with people like student Dr. Madden entering the field. I'm Dr. Kari Wolf. I'm the chair of psychiatry at SIU School of Medicine. And as we've heard from other speakers, people with mental illness often encounter first responders, including police officers. When people experience a mental health crisis, their thoughts are disrupted, and they often don't respond logically to commands by law enforcement or family members or anyone. And this is compounded when that person has experienced trauma in the past. We know that trauma, especially repeated trauma, changes the way our brain works and responds to stressful situations. So if a person experiencing a mental health crisis and they have a history of trauma, those encounters with law enforcement can be very dangerous. That's why we in mental health like to partner with law enforcement to educate, train, co-respond, as Diana Kanabi talked about, or at least work together to keep people safe and get them into the treatment that they need. Now, Alderman Gregory talked about the need for change back here. I, along with Dr. Wendy Wills Elamine and numerous other people at SIU, were able to partner with the Illinois Legislative Black Caucus on their fourth pillar, which had to do with House Bill 158, which was comprehensive health care reform. And that was signed into law by Governor Pritzker on April 27th, so just a couple weeks ago. And this important legislation was designed to address the cracks in our healthcare system. Cracks that are wider for people of color, given the systemic racism that affects healthcare and other agencies that affect health. This legislation created funding for programs that have proven effective in other states. It creates training that will help prevent the development of mental illness and other diseases. And it helps SIU and other universities in Illinois to build a workforce that reflects and is responsive to the communities we serve. The legislation is transformative. No other state in the country has passed legislation this comprehensive and this impactful. It affects every aspect of health, including social determinants of health, such as structural racism. And it allows us to continue to transform the mental health delivery system to deliver comprehensive, accessible, equitable, and high-quality psychiatric care to everyone in this state. Thank you.
That was amazing. Thank you guys both for coming up and sharing your stories with us. Part of what we're doing here is really working to destigmatize mental health issues. And part of that is really being able to say, I'm not okay. I'm tired, I'm worn out. As someone I think I heard say, I'm depressed, and letting that be enough. Joining us with song is Junior Passar, accompanied by Elijah Settles, and they will be singing, I'm Not Okay.
How y'all doing today? Yeah. I didn't know Greg personally, but I think I can speak on behalf of all black men when I say mental health is looked at differently from our angle, you know what I'm saying? So, you know, thankfully for me, I have my passion, and that's able to help me get out of things when I'm in a dark place, but sometimes, you know, we don't have that. And I know for me, a lot of my, apart from like my mother and father, you know, I can't look to a lot of people whenever I'm going through things. So I pray for him and the family, and I pray that y'all get justice for this. This song I'm about to do is called I'm Not Okay. I wrote it when I was in a dark place, so I hope y'all can relate. Yeah. My head is uneasy, my stomach is queasy. I think I did too much. My soul is on empty, them just make me friendly, but I can hardly close my eyes. I come alive at night, just a shell of a man that I used to be. It comes alive at night, it's harder to hide than it used to be. I'm not okay, but I'ma say I'm okay. While I'm smoking all this propane, pop a V like a roleplay. I'm not okay, but I'ma say I'm okay. I'm still stuck in my own ways. I might not die of old age. Yeah. My head is uneasy, my stomach is queasy. I think I did too much. Thank you.
That was amazing. I don't know about y'all, but I'm a sucker for acoustic guitar, and who knew? Singer-songwriter skills amongst us. That's amazing. We'll give you one more good hand clap there. Thank you, thank you. I'm gonna go ahead and call up Elizabeth Spafford from the Science community.
Okay, can you hear me? Okay. As Steph said, my name's Elizabeth Scrafford. I must speak long and fast because I wrote down too much. I'm the granddaughter of an immigrant and the volunteer outreach coordinator Springfield Immigrant Advocacy Network, or as we call it, no, Scion. What, Nick? Closer? Yeah? Cool. Okay. That's what good friends are for. Scion was formed in response to the rising xenophobia that came from Trump's election bid in 2016. We're a grassroots advocacy organization that works to protect the rights and well-being and promote the well-being and inclusion of Springfield's immigrant and refugee community. When the pandemic hit, Scion sprung into high gear and we started doing direct service for the first time. And we're currently providing food to 51 households across Springfield on a weekly basis. Now, you may be wondering why I'm up here talking about immigrant rights when we're here to talk about mental health and the shooting of Gregory. But what we know is that immigrant communities share space with other marginalized communities. And that there are many Black immigrants in Springfield and across our country. Immigrant communities often do not seek medical treatment or support from law enforcement out of fear. In 2017, as a mitigation strategy, because we know our community is safer when people feel like they can reach out for help, activists pushed the legislature to pass the Illinois Trust Act, which means the police officers can't ask folks when they pull them over and they interact with them what their citizenship status is, which is great. We needed that to happen. But what that doesn't change is the experience immigrants have when they encounter the police. It hasn't changed policing. Sorry, I got to catch up with what I wrote down. And there's a fear, right, that echoes throughout many marginalized communities, including immigrant communities, the Black community, LGBT community, people experiencing homelessness, and many, many others. Similarly, we know that many have suffered with mental health throughout the pandemic, but we don't have a good picture of how the immigrant community is doing because they feel and sometimes are unsafe asking for help. Now, when I look at big problems all by myself, me, Elizabeth Scrafford, I get pretty overwhelmed. But I'm a community organizer. And so I remember that when we all come together, big things can happen. Scion has seen week after week, we have food to feed 51 families. We have not always, I'm the person that puts this together. There are some weeks I don't think we're gonna have food, and we have food. Every time we put out a call for diapers or towels or beds, this community answers that call. So I'm very confident that if we all organize ourselves and we stand together and we stand in solidarity, that we can make change. And the first change that we need, right, is for these charges against Gregory to be dropped. But that's not enough, because it's not just Gregory. We know that the answer that the small family received when they called 911 was violence. It was an officer with a gun, and that's failure. The Chatham Police Department has failed the small family on a huge level. And everyone who's witnessed this tragedy, right, is horrified. It sent a message across our community that Black families are not safe. And to folks who live in the shadow, it sent them further into the shadows. And that's not a message that we can allow to stand. So what we need to send a message back, which is why we're out here today, to say that we're not accepting this in our community. This isn't going to be acceptable. These charges have to be dropped. So we're going to stand together, and we're going to demand that Dan get it right, and drop those charges. And then I heard one of the doctors talking about the legislation that just was passed, and I'm not up to speed like you are, but I know that one piece of legislation is not the answer, and that we have to keep pushing, right, until we've got it all right. Because it's not what am I trying to say? It's not one size fits all. There you go. Someone knows what I'm saying. It's not one size fits all. So we got to keep pushing, and we got to push together, because eventually we're going to get there so that all of our families are safe. And that folks who are in the shadows can come out of our shadows, and that when folks call 911, it's not someone with a gun being sent to someone's home. Thank you.
I just love Elizabeth. I can't remember what year that was when we met, but that was an amazing training that I sat at the table with you, and we've been friends ever since. It's probably not hard to imagine why all of her passion, love, and drive, determination to collaborate with people as they are, see them as they are, love them as they are. We appreciate you for that. I'm going to call Julie Tull up for personal testimony. Give her a hand as she comes.
Hello, everybody. Good afternoon. Can you hear me okay? Hi. I'm honored to be here in front of all you people with your caring hearts, and so glad everybody came out today. I'm here to talk about mental health recovery and the peer movement that's developed. I'm a peer. I could tell you all day long about how I got sick. I could talk about my childhood, my traumas, my poverty, but I'd really like to focus on how I got better and how I help other people get better, okay? I've worked doing peer support for about 11 years, certified recovery support specialist. I'm a RAP facilitator, and it'll be 11 years this summer. I've had 3 different jobs in peer support in the community, and what that entails is I tell my story, I help other people have hope. Hope is the reason we're all here today. Hope for change, right? I mean, if we didn't have hope, we wouldn't be here. And hope is the essential ingredient in mental health recovery. And so there's a lot of ways we find hope. We find it through support. We can find it through education. We can find it through community. And it's got to exist for that journey to begin. Recovery looks different for everybody. We're all individuals. Different things work for different people. For me, you know, I had to start off with challenging my assumptions. I learned really early that I really harmed myself with my assumptions. I assumed nobody wanted to be around me. I assumed nobody cared about me. I assumed that, you know, why go out to this party? Nobody wants me there. You know, all these ways I harm myself with my own thoughts. So we have to challenge our thoughts. I created mantras that helped me. Feelings aren't facts. Fear is not my friend. That's one I used this morning as I was kind of nervous about coming up to speak today. And we all can create our own mantras that serve our needs, that help ourselves to get where we want to be. Affirmations, I've made up lots of those too. Gratitude, you know, I've probably had chronic depression since I was a child, anxiety, you know, and I didn't really know how to cope with it till I'm 49 now. I was about 35 when I entered recovery. And I have a brain that's wired to think negatively, to think in a depressive way. And in my recovery, I've learned how to reframe my thoughts. For instance, if I recognize I'm only focused on what's going wrong, I'm like, wait a minute, think of 3 things that are going right, and I almost instantly feel better. So there's a lot we can do to help ourselves. There's a lot of great mental health services out there. Everybody's got a different path to recovery. For some people, it includes therapy, medication, lots of different styles of support. But it also comes, you know, from hope that we carry with us. You know, everybody's got mental health. You know, we all have physical health, we all have mental health, and we can't ignore it. There's times we have to do preventative measures. You know, just like we brush our teeth to keep our teeth healthy. We go get checkups at the doctor for prevention for our physical health. Part of mental health, for me, I can't speak for anyone else, but as far as that prevention goes, is I have to recognize, call out any unhealthy or negative thoughts that could bring me down. I don't want to go down that rabbit hole. It's another mantra that I use, because I don't want to go backwards. And, you know, I've done a lot of things to help myself. There's a really thriving recovery community in Illinois for mental health. And being linked in with other people gave me hope that I could do better, I could get better. And, you know, I've struggled with confidence, with anger, communication skills, in relationships. But I did find that as I got better, my relationships got better. And I think that there's hope for everyone. That's the main message I want to convey today. So reach out if needed. It takes a lot of courage and bravery to reach out for help, to fight that stigma. That's how we bust stigma. We have to speak it, and we have to seek it if we need it. So thank you all for listening to me today. And, you know, as long as there's breath in a body, there is hope for change. So thank you all.
I love that. As long as there's breath in our body, there's hope for change. I see a lot of hope out here, and I love it. Thank you, Julie. Access is important, and diversity is great, but it really lands flat when it's one-sided and we assume that everybody that's with us can understand what we're talking about. So to help aid in leveling the playing field there, in creating access for understanding and information, I'm going to call my good friend Julio up for Spanish translation.
Buenas tardes. Este mensaje es para todos los que no hablan inglés o entienden un poco, pero suficiente no es lo que estamos buscando, porque cuando la gente te habla en un idioma que tú entiendes, esa información va a tu cabeza. Pero cuando te hablan en tu idioma, esa información va al corazón. Este mensaje de que tenemos que hablar sobre la importancia de nuestra salud mental, que tenemos que no solamente trabajar con nuestros policías, pero volvernos policías, para que el futuro de nuestra comunidad no solamente sea mejor, pero sea algo que nos da esa energía como comunidad. En este tiempo que se están graduando los estudiantes, piensen en sus carreras y los invito a que sean doctores, que sean social workers, que sean policías, abogados, porque los necesitamos aquí en Sangamon County. Y también les digo a los padres y a las madres que ahorita estamos hablando por Gregory. No quiero el día que estamos hablando por Juan, por Julio, por Rosa. Juntos tenemos que llegar no solamente a la gente con decisiones, pero nosotros tenemos que volvernos esa gente. Con mucho cariño y respeto le agradezco al grupo que ha organizado esto. Espero que todos ustedes entiendan que esta es una de las primeras veces que hablamos en español completamente, pero no debe ser la última. Entonces, muchas gracias y estoy con todos ustedes en solidarity, como se dice. Necesitamos más psiquiatras, porque imagínate ser un indocumentado que no solamente trabaja todos los días, tantas horas, pero aquí en nuestra ciudad no hay mucha ayuda en español para algo como psiquiatras, como psicólogos, y siempre tienen que ir a Chicago. Yo digo, o los traemos a Springfield, o nosotros mismos nos volvemos esos doctores. Y última cosa que les quiero decir, mi mamá que está aquí conmigo es la razón que estoy aquí. No puedo imaginarme que algo me pase a mí y ella llame al policía buscando ayuda y que algo como le pasó a Gregory me pase a mí, le pase a ella. Eso sería una pesadilla. Y les digo a todos ustedes, por eso estamos aquí, porque les puede pasar a cualquiera de nuestras familias. Muchas gracias.
Thank you, Julio. One day we're going to have to do some salsa dancing, even though I know you came to speak about mental health. He does that too. We're going to go ahead and attempt to wrap up our rally today, but before we do that, I'm going to go ahead and say that Kat, actually, who's one of our fellow healing ambassadors, who was in one of my cohorts, is going to come and share actually with us all the way from Decatur. So if you'll go ahead and give him a hand as he comes.
I love seeing all your beautiful faces out here today. One thing I want to say is that we are all social justice advocates, warriors, superheroes. Real life superheroes are out here today. But one thing about being a superhero, we put a lot on ourselves. And the burnout is real. Am I right? The burnout is real. But we do have resources. Oh, excuse me, my glasses are fogging up. Resources are out there. We are together, collaborative. We are the resources. And it takes all of us pouring into each other. We cannot make a difference or an effective impact when we're pouring out of an empty cup. And that's what a lot of us have been doing for a while now. One thing about us being superheroes and advocates and social justice warriors is that we will keep on going up until there's nothing left within us. We don't pass the baton. We put a lot on our shoulders. But this is why we're here today. One thing I like to say is slay in your lane. We all contribute in a way that makes a difference. And for us to do that, we have to lighten the load and trust and believe that the resources that we have out here, that we will come together collaborative and make a difference. One of the main resources that we use in Decatur and that exists here is 211. It's an easy number to remember. You call 211, even if you're not sure of what it is that you may be going through, there's thousands of resources available. So if you think that you can't afford therapy or counseling, we got resources for that. If you don't know where to go, what to do if one of your loved ones is going through a crisis, we have resources for that. It's 24/7, 365 resource. So 211, remember that number. And make sure we collaborate and network with each other, because collectively, that's how we make an impact and make a difference. We are superheroes. Pat yourself on the back, but recharge your batteries. All right? Thank you. I love you. And you can reach me on Facebook at facebook.com/tatinc or facebook.com/officialtat, and I'll have a bunch of resources on my Facebook page and Instagram as well. Come and find me, and we can chat it out. Thank you.
Isn't Tat the best? I just love his smile. It's so infectious. And his heart behind it is true as well. And we do have an amazing singer that's going to come up and sing a medley for us. Her name is Raven. If you'll just give her a hand as she comes.
How you guys doing? Okay, so I'm just going to sing a little song. It's going to be really short. I know it's raining on and off. It's a little chilly. Thank you for the support. That's what the hook is for. I just want to sing a song for you guys that whenever I'm going through any type of stressful situation, or I just feel really down on my luck or down bad, I always feel like it's important and strong to call out for help. Call anybody. Call God, if that's what you believe in. I know that's what I believe in, and I just want to share that with you guys.
right, so we know his eye is on the sparrow, but wouldn't it have been a crime if we didn't hear from Sweet Raven? I apologize for that, Tom. Now I'm going to call up my good buddy, Miss Atson.
Hello, everybody. Thanks for being here. Again, my name is Nick Dodson. I'm here speaking on behalf of my family, my friends, my loved ones, my cousins, my co-workers, my nephews, my nieces, about mental health issues, with trauma, with paranoia, with post-traumatic stress disorder, to issues they don't even know they have yet, but they know something's wrong, and they don't know how to speak up for themselves, because they don't know what's going on. I'm here because I'm speaking out for Gregory, and I'm challenging each one of you to take your speaking out a touch further. I need everybody to listen up for just 1 second. Who all has emailed Dan Wright? Raise your hand. Who all has emailed Dan? Everybody, raise your hand high. Who has emailed? Okay, everybody with their hand down needs to go home tonight, and we're going to all email Dan. We're going to write Dan. We're going to call Dan, and we're going to say, hey, Dan, it's time to drop the felony charges. Okay? So I'm committing each one of you to that, and if I see you afterwards, we're going to talk about it. Okay, I'm Nick, so come say hey, and come tell me you're going to speak out for Gregory. Also, I want to challenge each man in this crowd today to look within themselves and help fight the stigma of speaking to other men about mental health in general. I want to challenge each man in this crowd to show vulnerabilities to one another. I want to challenge each other to show strength in showing weakness to one another. I want to show that there's strength in saying I love you to another man, another woman, and a person maybe you don't have a relationship but you care about, you know? I've never met Gregory, but I love Sunshine, and here I am. I'm going to speak out for Gregory, and I appreciate every single one of you doing the same thing. Now, I know there's something called a tough guys. I call it a tough guys. It's almost like a disguise, but a lot of men wear this tough guys. Okay, they act like they're stoic, they're quiet, they're tough, nothing bothers them. That's played out. Each one of you knows better, that acts that way. We need to love each other, we need to embrace one another, and we need to be compassionate to one another. So again, I'm going to challenge each one of you to be the person you needed when you were younger. You might have needed someone that was more tender, someone that was more communicative, someone that was less stoic to you when you needed someone to talk to. Tap that person you know needs you in their life. You know, the Elijah McClains of the world that maybe needed a hand. People that have mental health issues, that needed help, that were received with the end of a gun. You know, there's a saying, a man armed with a hammer only sees a world full of nails. And that's very powerful. Again, I just want to thank everyone for being here, for speaking out for Gregory. Again, email, call, donate, please, and thank you.
So we're just about done with our program. But if you'll oblige me, I just have a few words. I've known Sunshine for maybe 20 years. Black don't crack, y'all. We met years ago working in retail, and our paths have consistently circled. We met again in the Capitol. She went to the Senate, and I was in the House, and I've remained there, and now we both do social justice work. I never met Gregory in the way that we would have familiar relationship or anything like that. But he walked the halls of these buildings, as I did. And I saw him and said good morning, and I spoke to him because it is my extreme belief that we should dignify people. All people deserve to feel worthy, loved, and seen. So when I saw that post, my heart was arrested because we do this work so that story doesn't have to be true. And I called Sunshine and said, Sunny, why do I know this boy? She said, it's my brother. I haven't known you for 20 years, and I didn't know that was your brother. And I asked her, I said, but why do I know him outside of you? And she told me where he worked, and I remembered all the times that I saw him and spoke to him. And I remember the time that I sat across the table with her mother and met her sister. And actually saw her daughter at occasional overlap of things, and I thought, how tragic and sad and senseless that we are all gathered here for something that doesn't need to be. Mental health should not be the reason that we have to speak out for Greg. Racial disparities, social justice, HIV positive sexual orientation should not be the reason that we have to gather repeatedly to support one another. I struggle with anxiety. I've consistently been in and out of therapy. My shirt says prayer is a weapon, but therapy is strategy. It's important. We need to make it safe to ask for help, to say I'm not okay, to be seen, to be heard. And we need to hold people accountable when they step out of line and they do it wrong. This family doesn't deserve this. None of our families do. And I just want to thank you once again for gathering in solidarity. And I hope that this will not be the last time that we do this. That you will take Nick's advice and speak out for Greg. They've made it really easy for you to use a template of emails, talking points. Please do so. And after that, have a conversation with your friends. Look in the mirror and ask yourself, are you okay? Rest is a right. Love is a right. Look at your neighbor. Love your neighbor. We will one day get there. I don't believe that I'm doing this work for my generation. I have to consider that this is going to go on and on and on. And when you come here and you join us in this work, it's a lifelong journey. And I just thank you from the bottom of my heart for all the families that have gone before, the Elijah McClains. This needs to end today. Do your work for yourself and your families. I just want to give a special thank you to Nick Dodson, Ms. Shannon, Ken Pacho, who couldn't be here, but they helped organize this. Black Lives Matter, of course. SIU Medicine, Springfield Black Chamber of Commerce, the Garvey Tubman Cultural Arts and Research Center for your donations, Waters Math. I know that SIU and Memorial probably did the same, and we thank you for that. Our videographer and photography that came through in the last minute, New Expressions. We really appreciate you. Be kinder than necessary. Thank you.
I was going to get up here and start singing until I start tearing up. I'm Johnetta Chandler. I grew up around here in Springfield, Illinois. And I must say, just by listening as the story revolves about Gregory, you know, social media is just kind of like, you know, there's a lot of muddled information. And just being in the presence here taught me a lot. Knowledge-wise, exactly what was going on. One thing I can say with mental health, it is so important, and this is one of the things I'm going to mention in my email this evening, that mental health needs to be implemented in our justice system. It needs to be trained, it needs to be certified, it needs to be stereotyped and categorized to where our people that we trust, which is our police officers, our judicial systems, they need to know what mental health is and how to deal with circumstantial situations. As the story that, you know, I'm reading about with Mr. Gregory, I can just honestly say that there is transparency flaw. Transparency flaw is that something that where you can take something that is clear as day and see exactly what happened. There was a choice. There was a choice with the actions of the officer. There was a choice
of when the 911 call went out. I wasn't there, you wasn't there, certain people were there. The fact that a felony charge is something that is pending with this individual is heart-wrenching, because we depend on our judicial system, the people that to protect and serve, the people that we teach our children on a day-to-day to trust, that it's okay to call 911, that it's okay to go to law enforcement for help. But we need to realize is that mental health is something that we deal with on the clock and off the clock 24/7 every day. 24 hours in a day, but we deal with it all the way around. And to know that something that was so transparency to see what was going on, to make a judgment call like that, and for someone to take even further more damages here. So not only did they address the mental illness, okay, not only did they address the mental illness, but they also caused more mental illness, because he's basically being punished for something that he shouldn't be being punished for at all. That was a cry for help. Like I said, I got up here to sing a song, but I had to, my heart goes out to the family, and I will continue lifting you all in prayer. And right now, I just need this really big hug from everybody, and I need you to look at everybody and say, I love you, and you can't do nothing about it. So, but I'm gonna go ahead. All right, thank you. All right, I'm going to sing Rise, and I believe that this is going to conclude our services today. All right. You're broken down and tired of living life on a merry-go-round, and you can't find the fighter, but I see it in you, so we're going to work it out and move mountains. We're gonna work it out and move mountains. And I'll rise up, I'll rise like the day, I'll rise up, I'll rise unafraid, I'll rise up, and I'll do it 1,000 times again. And I'll rise up high like the waves, I'll rise up in spite of the aches, I'll rise up, and I'll do it 1,000 times again. For you, for you, for you, for you. When the silence isn't quiet and it feels like it's getting hard to breathe in, I know you feel like you're dying, but I promise we'll take the world to its feet and move mountains. We'll bring it to its feet and move mountains. And I rise up, I rise like the day, I rise up, I rise unafraid, I rise up, and I'll do it 1,000 times again. And I rise up, high like the waves, I rise up, in spite of my aches, I rise up, and I'll do it 1,000 times again. For you, for you, for you, for you. All we need is hope, and for that we have each other, and for that we have each other. We will rise, we will rise, we'll rise, we'll rise. 1,000 times again. And I rise up high like the waves. I rise up in spite of my pain. I rise up and I'll do it 1,000 times again. For you, for you, for you, for you.
Okay, so that really was it. Y'all been beautiful. Thank you.